A good evening to one and all present here. I'm Praharsh. I'm the chairperson of IEEE S.P.I.T. And the whole point of this event is to introduce all of you and like us especially to the concept of technical competitions. Any job or applying for masters, whatever it is, when our profile is all rounded, it makes us look like a better candidate. And for us to have a well-rounded profile, we need to have extracurriculars. Competitions are one of the best ways to showcase our skills. So we've arranged this event for you. Today in this discussion, we'll be talking about Texas Instruments, that's TI, Smart India Hackathon, SIH, e-Yantra, and IEEE Xtreme. So the speakers we have today are Miss Sarah Sonje. She's the winner of Smart India Hackathon for 2019, and she's a software development engineer at Amazon. We have Shloka Sapru. She's the technology analyst at Morgan Stanley, and she won SIH in 2018. We have Tejveer Singh, the runner-up of e-Yantra in 2017 and winner of TI in 2018. Bharadwaj Bhat, the winner of TI in 2018 and co-founder at KRED Robotics. And with them we have Gopala Dhar, the winner of TI in 2018, e-Yantra second runner-up in 2018, and the team member Suumedh Kalnawat, the winner of TI 2018, Action Research Project ARP 2019, and they won in Techfest International Robotics Challenge 2016. And he's the co-founder with Bharadwaj of KRED Robotics. Without spending further time in this, Sarah, please begin.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Shloka and I will be walking you guys through the software hackathon. So about the first half an hour would be about software hackathons, not just about SIH though. So I'll present my screen now. Is my PPT visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Alright. So basically, idea behind having software hackathons is that the companies want more student engagement. So that engagement could be because of hiring or because they themselves want more innovative ideas and want to crowdsource these ideas from students and later on pick these students up as well in their firm in case hiring is a reason. So the major hackathon that happens that SPIT students participate in is Smart India Hackathon organized by Government of India. So these hackathons are long-lasting competitions wherein you develop a software product to a problem statement or a theme given by the company, and if you were to win it, you win a cash prize or whatever is the prize. So it lasts for about 24 hours to 36 hours generally. Yeah, so the Smart India Hackathon is about 36 hours, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so this was about what hackathons are for, and we'll also be through this PPT we'll brief you about what the flow is with respect to the rounds, and also how to approach ideas and solutions for the same. So motivation behind motivation behind starting off would be there'll be three kinds of problems that you'll need to address in a hackathon. So there'll be basically three kinds of questions you need to solve on. So first is problem solving. That is, a clear problem statement will be given to you on which you have to develop a solution in that particular 24 hours or 36 hours period. So for example, a timetable planner for SPIT. So different resources or inputs would be classrooms, subjects, laboratories, teachers, subject credits, etc. Right. So the solution would be an application, web or mobile, whatever, an application that acts as your timetable planner. So the second kind of problems will be theme oriented. For example, it'll be a little vague and nuanced, for such as any solution that addresses a problem in the social domain, or let's say agricultural domain. Then the third kind of problem is a tech stack oriented problem. So these problems are directly hosted by the companies. Let's say Microsoft hosts a hackathon wherein it wants solutions using the Azure cloud technology. So these are also very common. Um, so this hackathon is a team event wherein a team from 3 to 6 people is preferred. So it'll be given in the competition conditions itself. So ideally, a team should be definitely a group of people who work together well and who are willing to learn, because there are different aspects to our solution. There's front end, that is your HTML, CSS, or your front end server, or your back end, or your database, or some kind of intelligence or innovation that you're doing in your product. So it's important to have a team that identifies each other's strengths and takes independent responsibility of a part of the product. Let's say it's 4 of us, and I would take responsibility of the back end alone. Someone else will take responsibility of the front end. Someone else will take responsibility of some machine learning algorithm or something. So it's important that together you are a wholesome team. So obviously not everyone is going to know everything. So the team should also be willing to learn along the way. Uh, so so the first step is, so before the hackathon starts, you will be given a set of problem statements, or like I already mentioned, some themes or a technology. So there is some analysis that goes behind uh, picking a problem statement. So it is identifying initial crucial pain point. So taking an example of the timetable planner, the crucial pain point here is appropriate resource allocation. The resources being teachers, laboratories, classrooms, subjects, etc. So it's important to identify this and focus on it, and answering that efficiently. So second step is recognizing obscurity and loopholes. So the first step is not that challenging, whereas the second step is. So you have to look beyond whatever is just written in plain text and read beyond and identify what more I can do to make my solution stand out, or to identify to solve a different another more important problem, not another, but something that was not just written in the problem statement. For example, considering the timetable problem, if my algorithm were to allocate, as a student, if my algorithm were to design a timetable that on Monday my first lecture is at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and my second lecture is at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So this isn't really a good kind of timetable, right? So that is an obscurity or loophole that you want to identify, and then also cater or find a solution to that. So the solution could be some different algorithm that you found that optimizes this as well. So the placement of the lecture should be contiguous rather than scattered. So the third is feasibility of problem statement for the team. So is your team capable enough to answer the solution, answer the problem with the kind of solution you are providing? So this feasibility comes with respect to technology, implementation of the technology, and also will the judges buy into your solution? Basically, at the end of the day, you have to convince the judges that you are capable to win this because you have presented the best possible solution, right? So if you think the solution that you're providing is beyond your capability, then you need to switch your problem statement. Or or either also, if you think that your problem statement is not challenging enough, then you switch on to another. And fourth is competition. So this is also a very important aspect because if it's a very simple problem statement, especially for the SCs, you there's not really a lot that you can do since you will ideally start development in your third semester onwards. So there's not really a lot you can do. So a basic web portal is generally what you second years participate and apply for, provide a solution to. So that's when such problem statements have a lot of solutions coming in. So it's difficult to stand out. So in such a scenario, you need to stand out and introduce a little more in your solution. So also keep in mind that when you're picking a problem statement, it shouldn't be so easy or so obvious that a lot of submissions come for it and you can't stand out. Right? So we'll move on. So this is also another important point with respect to what kind of solution you provide. So automation versus innovation. So automation is somewhat easier to do, a solution that automates things. So a data aggregation portal, right? So it's not really very difficult. You have a database that holds a lot of most of your data. Then you have some algorithm to analyze it and analyze it and bring it onto the front end. And then there's a front end web application. So this isn't very difficult to do, and hackathon are for getting more ideas and getting more innovation out of the students, right? So second years, maybe this would be somewhere in your scope, but when you go to third year, you want to go more into computer science concepts such as machine learning or blockchain or IoT, whatever you're comfortable with or whatever the product calls for. So that is something that may help you stand out. Uh, like right now, a lot of people are into ML or blockchain, so that it's not a guarantee that if you just have ML or blockchain in your problem, you will win. But it's definitely something that you should look forward to incorporate in your solution. So now moving on to solution building. Shloka, do you want to take this up?
Yep. Okay. So going on with what Sarah said, so the analysis of the problem statement was ideally so that you can go through maybe 3 or 4 of them and you can narrow down onto one uh, prime solution that you feel that you can provide an optimal solution to. So once you've done a overall analysis of the problem statement and selected that to go with, what you have to now do is a more further analysis of it. It has to be more in depth. So with solution building, what you do is the first step is you identify the main functionalities that you want your solution or your product to have and to support. So now these will be where you identify all the features, all the other characteristics of your project, all of its support tasks and what all happens. So just to exemplify it, the way that she talked about the timetable planner, if you're taking that as your problem statement, the main functionalities there would be obviously taking the inputs for all the teachers, the credits, the number of laboratories, all the rooms, the number of students per subject, and mapping those. The second main functionality and your highlight of the entire system should be the actual timetable planner and the creation of a timetable. Additional can be maybe you want to update or remove some course timings, details, etc. So once you've identified these main functionalities, you move on to how you convert the idea of your design onto more of a into a more technical detail. So here is when you define the blueprint. For second years, if you haven't gone through, the blueprint would be basically a bridge between your theoretical idea of your project and how you actually convert into a product. So this is where you define all your design flows. If you have to decide what kind of class structure, what goes where, this is where you do that. For third years, architecture is what goes over here. You have your process flow diagrams, you have your event flow diagrams, you decide how data flows from different layers. You have a database, you have data being collected and aggregated at that point. You have a processing of data that happens maybe at the front or middle layer. And then you finally throw out that data for observation to the users at the final layer. So identifying this architecture and the entire flow of of the data in your product is what's the blueprint. It's important that you have in-depth and fully detailed discussions at this point in your solution building, because what you don't want is if you have a 36-hour hackathon, 12 hours down the line, you decide that we actually missed out a huge feature which is going to break a lot of our code. You don't want to be recoding, going through all of that again. So spend as much time as you can, analyze the hell out of your problem statement, make sure there's no edges, no corners remaining which you haven't untouched, which you've left untouched. Identifying appropriate tech stack. Now, this can be either you want to use it or you feel that it's best applicable here. Either of those is fine, but identifying them and identifying their use in your particular scenario is very important. The fourth and final step is realizing that your hackathon is a competition. And even if you've narrowed to, for example, a problem statement which has lesser scope for competition, you need to stand out. So as Sarah mentioned, that even if you're making, for example, an automation, if you're just creating something, a digital platform for a process which exists manually, you have to make sure that you're adding some feature, adding a unique selling point, your USP of your product. You have to make sure that you stand out from all other competitors. You have to make sure that what feature you're adding, it's not just for the sake of adding it, you're actually adding value with the help of that feature. Now, there's two ways that you can add a USP. Either you add a feature which is going to be so valuable that it supersedes everybody else's idea, or B, you add a tech stack which is going to amplify your processing time. It's going to reduce that, increase your efficiency, reduce processing time, something. But don't add it for the sake of it. You should have it backed by some research, by some requirement, by some additional requirement you feel is going to be aided by it. So identification of a USP is very important, and it's crucial to stand out from the rest of the competition that you have in your hackathon. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So what happens with SIH especially, and with a lot of other hackathons, is there is a pre-elimination round. This is what's the submission, the first submission that is happening. So it needs to basically have a concise description of the points which you've mentioned. So when you decide what your solution is, when you've decided you've built a solution, your PPT presentation should have all of these details. It should be self-explanatory, because what you need to remember is you're emailing it to somebody. So nobody's going to sit and wait for you to call and explain points. Don't put obscure, esoteric words which people are not going to understand. Don't put too many ideas that you have yourself thought of. Explain it as much as you can. Second is providing a solution advantage. So you talk about what status quo is, what the current scenario is, and how your product is leveraging that process, how it's increasing it, how it's making it more efficient. Whatever you're doing, highlight the importance of your product. Add diagrams. So as we've said, it should be a short presentation because you have to capture as much focus of the reader as you can. So use of diagrams is much more intuitive and informative. So you have a lot of information which you can present instead of having it in a textual format. So you present 3 PPTs of just text. It's going to be a very tedious task to read that. Having diagrams which show that entire process flow is going to be much more intuitive and readable. It makes your it increases the readability of your presentation. A lot of times you might add icons and imagery. So for example, you want to show an alarm, you might put a bell button or an exclamation mark for showing something. If you feel that you can replace words with icons, that's fine. You can reduce the space you're using, but don't unnecessarily use icons for making it look pretty. It will, in the end, distract the focus of the user. Highlighting your USP is again important. You want to make your own presentation stand out from everybody else. And that's your entire point of making this presentation and going through with this hackathon. And lastly, in some hackathons, they might ask you for a video explaining the idea. What you normally do in such a video is you don't want to throw an SRS at them. You don't want a software requirements report at them. You want to tell them a story of what is their pain point and how your solution is going to bridge the gap between the pain point and the user satisfaction. Next, right. So talking about SIH or other hackathons which are extended, for example, 24 to 36 hours, a common trend that you can, I think, estimate also is going to be there's multiple rounds of evaluation. So the first round, if in case of SIH specifically, the first round happens at about 8 to 10 hours. So you have to, at that point, make sure that the judges and the evaluators that come, they know your understanding of the problem statement. You have to emphasize how deep your solution or your understanding of the requirement goes, how deep you have analyzed the problem statement and your solution, how many layers of your problem statement does your solution penetrate, and maybe 20 to 30% of your implementation. So you have to show that you've understood the problem statement, you've broken it down, and you started work on it. So this is where you maybe show your architecture diagrams, your tech diagrams, your understanding and implementation, or how you go about it. And at each round, at the end of it, you may get feedback from the evaluators. it's important that you take in this feedback and remember it, and try and incorporate it in whatever way you can. The second round happens maybe at about 24 to 30 hours, 24 to 28 hours. This is where they want to see that you've completed a large chunk of your implementation, and maybe if you've had some feedback in the previous round, you've incorporated that. Now, a very relevant scenario is that you've got, in the first round, you had a set of judges, and in the second round, you have a completely different set of judges. So what you have to now take care of is, in the second round, you have to explain your problem statement, explain your solution, explain your implementation, and see if any of the feedback you could incorporate. So you have to keep updating at every round how much time you're going to spend on each of these sections, because those judges may not be discussing with each other. They might be independent evaluation for each round. You have to ensure that you're not assuming that they know your problem statement. So ensure that you let them know your problem statement, but don't spend too much time on any one sub area so that they have to leave before your allotted time gets over. And the final round includes a product demo. They'd expect an entire working demo and the evolution of your project with respect to evaluator feedbacks and what all you can and cannot incorporate, maybe including future scope of your product. At each round, it's always suggested to keep a relevant PPT for each point and each of the judges. It's better if you can update your older PPT so that you have more content in case they have questions. You have it ready. You don't have to start giving them verbal ideas without any context. Mention the impact of your solution to each round of judges. They will be able to know and identify why and how your product is solving the problem. Emphasize the uniqueness of your product idea. I think I've mentioned it enough that you need to stand out to, for the evaluators to remember your product. Otherwise, you'll be one among maybe 40 others who are doing the same thing. Listening to feedback. So if at any point of time your evaluators give you feedback, be positive, be acquiescent to it. Never negate feedback, because even if you don't agree with it, maybe provide a solution where you say, we can look at it another way, we can try and look at it further, but never negate their feedback. It shows more of a closed mindset where you are happy with only your solution and you're living inside a bubble. Always accept their feedback and be willing to at least listen to their explanation. And finally, in hackathons, sometimes they have mentors from the organization itself. If they're present at all, make sure that you approach them, you mention your ideas to them, you talk to them about it to get a different perspective. Getting a third idea on it is always helpful. They might tell you something you missed out on. They might help you with some other problems that you had which you couldn't anticipate, and they might possibly show you show what showstoppers you had and you hadn't thought of. So it's important that your evaluation becomes a story that you tell. You don't want them to be bored at the end of your evaluation. You want them to be as entrapped as possible. So if you feel that they're a little more of a tech-oriented crowd, start going into technical details, start talking about how you've implemented each point. But if you feel that they might not be the most tech-oriented, they've listened to too many tech theories by now and you don't want to bore them with another one, you start talking about the story. You weave a story around what the requirement is, why you started with this product, what you help with, and maybe what your USP is. Always emphasize what your USP is to stand out. Right, that was from our side. Does anybody have any questions?
Also, I would want to highlight the fact that it's difficult to build an entire product in 24 hours or 36 hours. So generally, most of the teams go prepared beforehand with respect to base implementation ready and build upon the finer details during the hackathon. And based on the feedback they get from the evaluators, which is incredibly important because they are going to be judging you at the end.
Right. If there aren't any questions, we'll hand over to the hardware hackathon team.
Let's wait for a minute, I think, because they may take time to type.
Okay.
what do the mentors do exactly during a hackathon? Uh, so there can be two types of mentors. So during SIH, we have to pick our mentors by ourselves from anywhere and take them with us along for the hackathon. So they are basically going to guide you. So they are mentors that you chose so that your product gets better, right? So they'll just help you along with how to make your idea better, what more features you can bring in. So those people are preferably from the industry, so they can bring in an industry perspective so that you are more relatable to the evaluators who are from the industry. And the second kind of mentors are appointed by the organization of the hackathon. So let's say Microsoft is conducting a hackathon. So there'll be some mentors from Microsoft around to judge you, to may or may not judge, but they will be present there in case you need help, uh, to ask doubts, or a lot of times they are there to judge in case it's a hiring decision. Does that answer your question?
What are the technical skills? Okay, so I'm guessing you're a second year that's asking the technical skills. So, like Sarah mentioned, in when you're selecting a team, it's important that if you're going into a team, either a all of you know your roles exactly, or if you don't, you're able to divide those roles. So when you're building a product, there's going to be two faces to it. It's either going to be an application, web application, or it's going to be a mobile application. So the first thing you need to do is you need to understand that there's going to be three divisions to any application. There is a backend, which is the data collection and maybe processing. There is a front end, which deals with the UI and how to manipulate interfaces. And there's going to be a middle tier, which is where largely processing of data happens. So there's different technologies for each of them. For middle tier, you have Python, you have Node.js, you have Ruby. For front end, you have Angular, you have again React, Vue. There's a lot of things you can look at. You have to look at what interests you the most and what is most applicable for that particular hackathon. So if you're making an application for maybe government officials, you're going to make something more desktop related because their work is going to be mainly in office. If you're making something for large general public, if you're making some sort of a media application, crowdsourcing application, you're going to want to go with a mobile application because that's what's most convenient and reachable. How do we select proper topic statement and technologies? So this is what we were talking about when we spoke about the analysis of problem statement. So if you have, for example, 5 problem statements given in a hackathon, you do a high level analysis of each of them. You look at maybe the requirements that the statement has, how much of it you can fit, and how much competition do you expect. So if you think it's a really, really easy problem statement, majorly what will happen is everybody else thinks the same. Chances are there'll be a huge amount of competition there. So if you want to take your chances with that, go ahead. Or you go on to something which seems a little more difficult or so obscure that nobody will go there. So obviously you have chances of being the only competitor there. You have to weigh out what matters and which part you can fit in and be the best at. Technologies would basically again be the same thing related to what product or project you're building. If you see that something, again, if it's an agricultural system, for example, there needs to be somebody monitoring it. You see the kind of requirements it has, and accordingly you decide whether a mobile or a desktop app will be better.
Also, I would want to add to Shloka's answer here. So, I, in I guess you are from the second year. You're from second year. So, along the way, you will understand what are the different technologies out there, and once you read a problem statement, you will realize that this particular technology will answer this particular kind of problem. So, you can start off with like answering basic portal questions, portal problem statements, uh, wherein it could be getting data from different places and showing it to the user on one web page, or on one interface. And later on, there could be complex problems wherein you need to have security, you need to have other features in. So then you will realize that, oh, here I could maybe use machine learning. Oh, here I could maybe fit in blockchain. So that is something you will realize with time. There's I hope you guys are not getting intimidated with respect to how to go about this process. You still, if you are in your third semester, it's too early to kind of get the whole idea of this.
Actually, I think so. Ishan's asked a question which addresses it perfectly. So he's asked, is it a good idea to participate in hackathons in our second year for the experience? Definitely, because then you will know what to expect when you really want to compete. So in second year, go have some fun, look at what you can do, look at what other people are doing, how they reach it. In that case, if you have mentors, you can talk to them. They'll give you a more broader idea of what goes on. You'll see what a hackathon environment is like. So when you go for the first time for a 36-hour hackathon, you're not like, how will I stay awake for the whole 36 hours? People sleep there also. People work also. It's a crazy environment. It's great if you go and experience it for the first time. And
Yeah, second
Arohi's
year.
question. Yeah, no, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the second year is generally mobile applications, games. There'll be problem statements which would be develop a game for disabled people or something along those lines. So mobile applications aren't really tough. So that is something you can definitely dabble with as a second year student. Uh, yeah. So,
Yeah. Arohi, for Arohi's question, there is a huge chance your product can fail. There's two things you
yeah.
can do about it. If this happens right when you're presenting and you don't know what to do with it, it's okay. Go over it, talk about it. Everybody knows there are technical glitches that happen. If it happens right before the evaluation and there is something you can do to salvage it, see if there's a way to hack around it. Maybe you don't have to solve the problem. Maybe you can show what the expected outcome is. That's fine. They don't expect it to be a completely working. You're not genies. You're not going to do it in 36 hours. Show what you expect and what solution are you trying to achieve. Push the rest of it into a scope if you want. It's completely understandable if you talk about the future scope. It's actually good because you're talking about how much further you want to take the product. If you can salvage the issue, if you can work around it, if you can show what your expected outcome of that particular product is, show that, that's fine. But if it happens right in the middle of you presenting and you suddenly see that there's a glitch or your server goes down, something's happening, your laptop is not responding, it's fine. Just go over it, start talking about what you want. And this is where your presentation comes in handy. So when you are talking about something and you feel that you don't have the live demo to show of it, if you have screenshots at any point of time that you've taken, show them in your presentation. Keep updating your PPT with your current work so that in case it happens, it's very, likely that it will happen. So you have something to show instead of it. So what we talked about at each round, have PPTs ready with relevant information. This is where they come in.
Yeah, and also you won't be disqualified.
Yeah.
So the reason why in the PPT we mentioned that round two you should show 80% implementation is because in case you mess up in round two, you have round three to show your working demo, right? So don't keep your implementation waiting till the last round. The last round should be definitely a working demo if you haven't done that in your second round. But the last round should definitely be incorporating the feedback. Right. So during my hackathon, we had messed up our implementation the first round. The entire code broke. We couldn't show anything. However, we did our best, and then we showed almost the entire product in our round two, and we implemented the evaluators' feedback in round three. So even if we would have messed up in round two, we had round three to show the entire demo again. So that is why you show most of your implementation in the second last round itself, so that last round you don't end up messing up much.
No, the competitions actually don't want you to create an app per se. They won't outright say make an app to do this. The creation of an application is more of the underlying requirement. So to showcase what you've done, you can either show them the code or you show them an application which shows you a complete a stitched interaction from the user's input to the output of the program. So it's just like giving a complete experience to the user, which is why people prefer to make apps. So now that everybody does it, it's kind of considered a norm. But the app is not the requirement. The processing, the work, the thought you put behind it, behind the solution that you're creating is the requirement. The app is more of just creating a platform to showcase your solution.
Also, but you can't just go there saying that we have not built the app, we just have an
Yeah,
idea.
that's it, exactly.
You will have to do some, like you can do workarounds with respect to not implementing it perfectly or just implementing it for the sake of it. But you can't go empty-handed without an app at the signing down. What is important, problem solving or its implementation? See, it really depends on the judges because there are a lot of times when you'll have to hack around with respect to uh, showing your implementation. You may not have the perfect implementation. So, and also you may not have implemented all of the features right. So that's when you hack around and show that, oh, we've done this, but just show it, just show a static view of it and not the entire process. But I don't think I can put any of those two above the other.
Actually, it's not an ideation workshop or a competition. It's a hackathon. So you have to show an implementation of some sort. It's not necessary that you create an app, but what happens is because the entire competition is doing it, if you don't, but even if you have a great idea, because they can't judge it at the same level because of the others' added functionalities, by default, your product will be slightly overlooked. Your idea might be slightly overlooked because it's not as well implemented.
Are there any more questions?
Should I start? Uh, okay. Okay. So good evening, guys. My name is Bharadwaj. I'm a co-founder at KRED Robotics. We are a robotic solution company. Our mission is to develop accessible technology that serves the community. Uh, so you will know in the further part of the presentation that this venture is a result of one of the competitions. Okay, so this is our team. So all the four panelists, Gopala, Tejveer, Suumedh, and me are all co-founders here. So initially, me, Gopal, and Tejveer were classmates. We clicked then, and so we used to go into competitions together. Later, through one of another competitions called Robocon, Suumedh joined us and became a permanent member. So that's our whole team. So what we have done here is we have divided the competitions into different segments. And before I get into these segments, I just have a disclaimer that if you're planning to pursue further studies abroad, then we recommend you to participate in as many competitions as possible to build your CV, mainly electronics and EXTC students. So now just let's get into each of the segments. First comes competitions that develop your technical skills. So these are competitions that will help you learn a new skill. More importantly, it will help you choose the field of your liking. So which may later become your own career. Okay, so for example, in our case, me and Tejveer got into the mechanical design, product and project manufacturing stuff. Gopala fell in love with coding, mainly machine learning and coding of our electronic boards. Then Suumedh is the guy who would design an electronic circuit when we needed one. So in this way, our roles in the team were automatically divided. Then comes competition that give you an internship or a job offer. Now, all competitions will help you build your CV, but these are specific competitions that are arranged by companies to make the hiring process more interactive and practical. Now, the main advantage here is that you get to work on projects that could actually be used in real life. And the final segment is about entrepreneurship. So for those who all don't know, entrepreneurship is basically owning and running your own business. Okay, I'll discuss about it more in the further slides. So moving on, here are competitions that we have participated in. The first comes Robocon. It is a competition where the whole college participates as one team. I don't know how many of you have seen us, building the robot, but the main advantage of this competition is that you get to experience all sides of engineering, coding, communication, electronics, mechanical stuff, everything. So that's about Robocon. Then comes SIH. Shloka and Sarah have explained it pretty well, so I won't get deep into it. Then comes e-Yantra. Now this is the best competition for students to learn new stuff, because it's well organized, where they give you all the resources so you can learn first, and then they will give you the task to apply your knowledge. So e-Yantra is all about patience. It's where you slowly learn, all the concepts, and then you slowly try to implement it. Then finally comes the ACCS Arm Design Contest Challenge. So ACCS is the actual entity that holds this competition along with some partner. So the partner changes every year. So it's a fun themed competition for you to experience. Moving on, now these competitions. Okay, so moving on, here are competitions which we participated. These were arranged by TCS and Deloitte. Again, there are many competitions in this field. Many hackathons, like Sarah and Shloka mentioned. So you could find many of these on Google. Now we had participated in TCS Nginx. We were in the top 5 teams. The both time we participated twice in a row. So Gopala, Tejveer, and me were offered a job offer from TCS in our final year, and since Suumedh was in his third year, he got an internship offer. Now, what we like about these competitions are they are themed in a way wherein you get to try out stuff that could actually be implemented in real world. For example, in Nginx 2018, the theme was digital twin. Now, what is digital twin? So even we didn't know what it was, but when we researched upon it, we realized that it's an abstract idea wherein the practical applications of it are enormous. So we got to build something in the healthcare field, which was quite fun. So that's about competitions in regarding jobs and internships. Now, finally, these are competitions that will help you in your entrepreneurial journey. So first competition is obviously ISCDC. This is a competition that is arranged by Texas Instruments, NSR Cell, which is an incubation chamber at IIM Bangalore, and the Department of Science and Technology. Now, this is the best competition for engineers to get into entrepreneurship. It is well organized. Now, since we are engineers, usually we don't know a lot about business side of things. So this competition is the best place to learn that, and also they have courses in the competition timeline. Also, in the later stage of the competition, they will assign you business and technical mentors, so that you could talk to them, you could learn more of this stuff. And now this segment of entrepreneurship is divided into two parts. There are two types of competition usually, where in the first type, you don't need a registered company to participate, while in the second type, you do need a registered company. For example, the competition arranged by Maharashtra Startup Week 2020 a comp- is like a competition to get more funds into a startup. So every state has some amount of funds allocated for startups of their state. So we had participated in these competition to get in more funds. Now there are numerous other competitions which you could search online to get more grants and to fetch some investors for your startup. So now what are general tips that we recommend you follow is: first, you build a compatible team. Uh, what I mean here is, so according to us, a team should consist of people who trust each other first of all and are committed to win the competition. Now, as you've seen, we four have participated in most of the competitions over the 4 years, and we are still friends. We are, we all do all the things together. Second is research. Research is very important. Now, you should research each and every competition before you participate, because you don't want to get into 10 competitions altogether and mix everything up and don't do any of it perfectly. So that's the second thing. Third is choosing the right mentor. So mentor is someone who you should trust, who you must be comfortable with, and who can help you at some or the other stage of the competition. Fourth and fifth are a bit philosophical. So if you have an idea which you have researched enough, which you believe which would work, you should go forward with it, even though any mentor would say it won't work, and any of your parts, team members would say it won't work. You should go ahead with it, as doubting yourself would only stop your own potential. And last is be patient. So most of the competitions which I have listed before need you to be patient. Like, first of all, I would give the example of e-Yantra. So initially, when you start implementing the code and everything on the robot, it won't work. It won't work for days. It won't work for weeks. So being patient and keep trying resiliently is the only solution there. And finally, have fun. Be excited, because if you're not having fun, then you are not going to give your everything to the competition. Uh, so that's about it, what we wanted to present. So if you want certain kinds of specific tips, please do ask the questions in the chat box, or you could just turn on your audio and ask.
I would just like to add, Bharadwaj, can you show that slide, that tips wali slide? Yeah. So what we all feel is this slide is actually the most important one. So building a team, the one point which I would like to cover is, most of the people while building team, we think that we will include those people who are toppers in our class, or yeah, or who are geeks, who do all this stuff. It's not necessary actually. You should just make a team of people who are you're good friends with. So like basically no one knows anything. Like we also don't know anything. You also don't know anything. So you need to learn on your own. So it's not necessary that you make a team in which one person knows everything and other three are doing nothing. So this is the main thing which we will like to say, that make a team in which you all trust each other and you are friends. And second of all, about be patient, it means you should take part in many competitions. So like over these 3-4 years, we participated in around 15 or 12 competitions, but we didn't won each and every competition. We won just few, like 4 or 5 competitions. So it's like you should not aim for winning it. You should only aim for learning something new, or you should just discover something in which you can make your field in. You can see your future itself in that field. That's it.
Experience everything. Yeah.
Yes, Tejveer, that's absolutely right. So I guess that's the whole point of these competitions. The point is not to win and have a lot of things on your resume. That is the result. That's the result of your hard work. The point is to basically get to learn a lot of things and to shape your career, like Tejveer said. So it's important that you understand that any competition you take part in, especially the people who are in the second year, having a vision to win the competition is good, but don't just fixate on that. Like Bharadwaj said, don't forget to have fun and be patient while working. And things will not work out. Don't There is no need to lash out on people and lose your patience, lose your cool, because things take time, especially when you're building, working on competitions like e-Yantra. E-Yantra will I will say one thing, it will drain you a lot. So don't get disheartened and make sure that you keep pushing yourself, albeit you know in a way that doesn't harm you more than it does as you good. So make sure that happens.
Okay, so we have questions here. Can you give one example of one of your projects from SIH Hardware Edition? Okay, so actually, we had participated in SI, but we didn't get real like any ahead in the competition. So we are not the right people to ask.
I mean, yeah, Bharadwaj is right. We did not, go forward. We were not selected further for that. But I think in the hardware edition, like in the software edition, you're given like 2 or 3 days, and they provide you with labs wherein you can basically they give you all the equipments and you can basically build your thing. Though, like in the software edition as well, people are prepared already beforehand. So the hardware edition as well, people come prepared. They know what they want to make. So there's only a few things which they change on the spot in labs, and those competitions generally happen in colleges like IITs and NITs. So they have like good labs and good infrastructure.
Next question is by Prabhat. Can you provide a list of competitions which SEs can take part in apart from ones mentioned here?
Yeah, so hi, Suumedh here. So a good question actually, because even I was an SE when I participated in many competitions. So first of all, participate in e-Yantra, okay? Even though it is listed over here, I'm repeating it, but it will teach you a lot, okay? It will teach you how to build a team. It will teach you how to compete with others. At the same time, it will give you a great stage to start. Now, other competitions that you can participate are small competitions which are organized across all the colleges. Now, these competitions are like ones in the Techfest or ones in our college as well. Now, what these competitions will do is this will build your confidence. At the same time, it will lay a groundwork for your whatever you want to do in other competitions. For example, taking consideration when I participated in Techfest. So over there, what I learned was the basics about what kind of hardware can I use, where can I get this hardware and all. But then I was able to briefly implement it while doing e-Yantra. Whatever I learned while doing e-Yantra, I was able to implement it while doing TI. So it's kind of a chain. So you can start with this small competition, and SIH is a good platform to start with for second years as well. But participate in e-Yantra, that is a major thing.
Also, one more thing, talking about competitions, you should not always look for big competitions with cash prize. I'll tell you, I've never seen a single student winning line following race in our college, in our tech fest. Not a single person had ever able to complete the whole track and win the line follow thing. So like if any of you, I'm just challenging this to you, if any of you can make a line following robot which can, just clear that part, it will be a great success for you from that only, because it's not that simple to create a line follow bot. Sorry. It's quite hard. You come to know about various things like PID controller. You have to make your own control board. You can't just use Arduino to make a line follower. That's bullshit. So like when you go on big level, you need to make fast and adaptable line following robot. I'll just say this.
Okay, so adding to what these guys are saying, Nginx is another competition which I would suggest, because that would get you an internship offer if you get into the top teams. So get into these competitions which will give you internship, because if you want to build your CV, then these competitions matter.
Yeah. So adding to what Suumedh said, right? I think anyone who's in the second year should definitely participate in e-Yantra, because not only will it teach you, I can say hardware, but it will also teach you a lot of things related to the computer department side, because e-Yantra is essentially organized by the CS department of IIT Bombay. So even though it's a robotics competition, it will teach you both hardware and software. So it is a very good point to start. So we'll be learning things which your friends from the ETRX XTC will be learning in their fourth year, and even IT comms people will probably be learning in their third year. You'll be learning them in your like third sem. So it's a very good competition to begin with.
Actually, one more competition that you can participate in is organized by KPMG. So it is again one of the innovation challenges. It's a very good competition. You get to learn a lot, and you can participate into those also. It comes under internship and job category in case of competitions.
Okay, so the next question is from Hargobin. If you have an idea but you don't have the technical skills to work on it, what should one do? Outsource it.
No. The initial step is not outsourcing it. Actually, if you have an idea, just start working for it. Just build a prototype and see what you can actually make for it. Like, so if I want to create a robot that throws something, so I'll just try to find various mechanisms and I'll just figure out if I'm able to do it or not. And if you aren't able to do something, like if you are going to have launch a rocket, if you want to launch a rocket, then you'll approach someone from outside. So like when there is nothing to do with your field, then you'll approach. That's always the second option. But yeah, Suumedh was talking very right. You should approach others. You should never do everything yourself also.
Yeah, that is absolutely a point that I would like to make. Don't try to do everything yourself, because your team will be a cohesive team, and automatically everybody will learn the predominant skill that is required in the competition. So you don't have to worry that much about it. But yes, as Bharadwaj rightly stated, if you don't know something, go and ask people. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be egoistic about it. मैं इसको पूछूंगा तो कैसा लगेगा? Just go and ask. Ask your question. Most probably you'll get a solution from there.
If you need an example, during the TI competition, what we had to do is we had to interview amputees, we had to interview hospitals. So we directly went and talked with the director of an institute. We just went, knocked on his door, and talked to him. So don't be shy. Just go. People are not, are not afraid of talking. They will talk to you. They will, give their suggestion. People like talking. The next question is, does that answer your question, Harbobin? Okay, so next is, learning about IoT will help in such competitions, question mark.
I mean, IoT is a good technology to learn, but it's not the end of the world. So, like we've said, it's good if you know a lot of technologies, but you should have the idea of the bigger picture as well. Learn about IoT, yeah, definitely you can. It's in right now, so it will probably help you somewhere. So definitely go for it.
Okay, so next is, where can we learn more about robotics and embedded systems and other technical skills that we need to excel in these competitions? Google.
I mean, if you right, Google is a very good resource. But on a serious note, if you're participating in e-Yantra, they'll give you a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Right. But the type of resources they'll give you and the type of problem statement they'll give you, they'll be at par with each other. So if resources are very abundant, the problem statement will not be so easy. It will not be something you'll Google and find online. You can Google all you want. You can Google to the 10th page, you'll not find the answer. You need to sit down and do a lot of brainstorming to figure out the solution. But if you're, really interested, then they provide
For
you with
learning, Google is good. Yeah. For learning,
they
it's
will
good,
provide
not the
you.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually very rightly stated by Gopala. e-Yantra, you don't need to participate in e-Yantra to win the competition. You need to participate in e-Yantra to gain knowledge. That is what your objective should be. For example, there are themes related to image processing. There are themes related to machine learning in e-Yantra. At the same time, you're learning about mechanics as well. So for example, in e-Yantra, if you have a group of 4 people, so one would be doing programming related to machine learning. Another would be maybe related to image processing. Another one would be designing the bot and programming the controller part. The other one would be just making the mechanical part of it. So e-Yantra is to teach you what is ahead. That is one of the best ways we can explain e-Yantra.
And again, like robotics and embedded system, it's not just one thing. It's actually a very, very big thing. So you don't need to learn everything. You just need to divide work and just find some. You just need to start with something. सब साथ में नहीं सीख पाएंगे, किधर से start करना ही पड़ेगा.
Yeah, as Tejveer rightly stated. So, for example, let's take in consideration you have to build a bot. Now, in any of this competition, you don't only need embedded systems or mechanical knowledge. You also need machine learning knowledge. For example, you need to trace a path, as Tejveer stated, their line following bot. It is such an easy thing to build, but there is a lot of algorithm that you have to build while programming it. Now, while doing it, you can use the concepts of PID, or you can use the concepts of, for example, there is a concept known as Manhattan. So, for example, it is the way you can program your bot to go from position A to position B. Now, it will vary according to the question, obviously, but these are some kind of, so basically path planning. Now, that comes also in part of making your bot intelligent enough to go from position A to position B, and that you can say that it is ML. So, and again, you have to, for example, in some cases you have to identify the objects, and then you have to then your bot has to make a decision whether it wants to go right or wants to go left. Now this identification of objects would be done by image processing simply.
Yeah.
So you would
So,
be seeing using image processing and then making the decision.
so let's just give us example of E-Yantra 2017, in which Tejveer and Bharadwaj and I were there. There's one more guy. So we went to the finals. So just to give you an idea of the theme, the technical stack that was required, we had to build a bot. The bot was actually already provided by IIT Bombay, but we needed to tweak it a bit. There were concepts of image processing. There were concepts of Raspberry Pi programming. There were concepts of embedded system programming on the board. It was an ARM board, and then there were also concepts of mechanics to build the arm to hold and grab things and pull it off of objects. And then there the Manhattan distance, the path planning, that was also involved. So these are and we were just in the second year. So you will be dealing with these are all they are AI first technologies, and you will probably your peers would not even hear them till the end of their graduation. So there are such things that people actually, since it's an IIT conducted competition, it is very intensive in the technical skills required, and you'll learn all of these in Yantra if if you're patient and if you're really dedicated. The only thing is that Yantra has a very strict deadline policy, and they have like they'll give you 1 week to do this task, and you need to learn things from scratch. From absolute scratch, you need to learn and perfect them in one week, and they will not accept anything less than perfect, because if you're not able to do that, then there are probably other teams who can, right? So it's better if you participate in Yantra and practice thoroughly whatever they are teaching you.
Yeah, as rightly stated by Gopala, it is absolutely true to keep in mind that you're not the best in this kind of competition, because when you if you reach the finals or quarterfinals or semifinals, that time you'll realize that the crowd shrinks up but the competition level increases, and that is what is seen in most of this competition. And talking about this technical competition specifically, talking about them, so according to us, you should participate in these competitions to gain knowledge. But if you want to actually win the competition, you should go for the job and internship competition or entrepreneurialistic competition, because after winning a competition, there is one more thing ahead. So that's why. That is what one recommendation could be.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. What are the prerequisites to take part in this competition? There are no such prerequisites. You just fill an application form and that's it. You should be committed enough to see the whole process and work really hard towards it. That's the prerequisite you need. Does that answer your question, Vinayak? Okay. So Hargobin's another question. And how much of the product should be ready for the competition like TI? Gopala, please handle this question.
Yeah. So it's Hargobind, right? So Hargobind, what happens in TI, right? It's a stage-based competition. So in the till the quarterfinal stage, you need to just make a prototype, right? And just make it like a proof of concept. It should not be something which will perfectly and definitely work, but it should showcase what you're thinking, the big picture. It should showcase that. Then if you're, then after semifinals, right? And if you qualify semifinals, then you'll be provided with the product development funds, and those will basically take care of building the whole you can just use those funds. That's the reason they're giving to you, and you can build the whole product. So in the initial stages, it's not really like they don't expect you to create the whole product, but you should have an idea. You should have a proof of concept ready. That really helps.
Okay, so there are no more questions. Any more questions that you would like to ask?
You can even speak on mic if you feel like.
Yeah, that's better actually. Yeah. And if you have any questions and you are too shy to ask, please contact us on LinkedIn. You can directly message us.
Yes.
Bharat, there is a question.
Okay. Is there a question? Okay. Talking about prerequisites in terms, what kind of knowledge base we should develop, or as SEs, what areas should we look into that will help us in these competitions?
See, this one thing I would like to clear is there is nowhere written that you should know what you are going to do in future. Okay, so I'll speak in Hindi. Like ऐसे मान के मत चलो कि मेरे को आगे जाके यही बनना है. It's not like that. We like till now I am searching what I don't know what I'm going to do in future. I have no clue what I'm going to do. So that there is no specific thing that you should need to know, but you should always do what interests you. So like at our time, Arduino used to be a big thing. So like जिसको Arduino आता था ना, वो तो मतलब robotics पहले से ही बनता था. So it used to be like that way. So I don't know. There's no prerequisite. There is no prerequisite in engineering only. You just need to do what you are interested in. किधर से भी ढूंढो, गूगल से you need to ask professors, ask them, नहीं आंसर मिलेगा पता है, ask your friends, ask seniors. That's all you learn.
Any more questions? Yeah. Okay. People are leaving.
I guess they don't have any questions now.
Okay, I guess that's about it. We'll be sharing the PPTs that of the technical and sort of the software and hardware once we receive them, and we'll be sharing the LinkedIn IDs of all the speakers. So feel free to contact them through LinkedIn at any time. I just like to thank all the speakers for taking out the time to speak to us, and I know that a lot of people had a lot of questions, and I'm really grateful that you could do this with us. If all of you could switch on your camera, I'd like to take a picture.
So मैं light चालू करूँ.
Sara, Shloka.
Yeah. Sorry.
सुमेध उल्टा बैठ.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Check up.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
और गोपाला
No, चल रहा है.
कैसे हो? ठीक हो गोपाला?
Existing.
ऐसे कैसे कर लेते हो आप?
ठीक है.
क्या प्लान है आज का?
ये मीटिंग बाय द वे रिकॉर्ड हो रही है धीरे-धीरे.
बाय बाय.
बाय.
I was about to say
Bye.
that. I hope you guys know it's recorded. So like.
अरे ठीक है, स्किप
ट्रिम
कर
कर दो
देना.
ना इनका.
एंड लाइक स्किप कर देना ब्लूपर. ठीक है. बाय बाय.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
हाँ, बाय बाय.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
बाय.